welcome to Melissa Recovers, where I do all sorts of crazy things to recover the person who I was always meant to be. I just want to share with you one of our family favorite recipes of easy bagels. For about 6 cents a bagel, you can make your own bagels for your family. So to this mixing bowl, I'm going to add 5 cups of bread flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of instant yeast. I will take you with me along the way, and you'll get to see the ingredients, the mixing, the shaping, everything that you need to know to make your family whole, nutritious foods. Now today I'm using bread flour, but I've done these with wheat flour before. You can try alternate flours for those of you who have gluten sensitivities. And you can even add whatever kind of toppings and mix-ins that you want. Today we're going to tackle blueberry, plain, and even bagel thins. The bagels are 6 points a piece, and they are amazing. And the thins are only 3 points a piece. So come with me, I'm going to show you this cool recipe. Hey everybody, so we're started with our bagels. We're going to make some homemade bagels, and I've already put in 5 cups of bread flour. I get my bread flour from Sam's Club in a 25-pound bag. It's $5.37 for a 25-pound bag. There's between 85 and 90 cups of flour in a 25-pound bag. So you're looking at about 6 cents a cup. So for this recipe, we've got 30 cents. 30 cents in flour. So I'm going to add to that 2 teaspoons of sugar. And yes, I keep my sugar in a bucket. We don't use that much, but I buy it in bulk. And when you buy something by a 25-pound bag, you save so much money, especially this time of year. Strawberries go on sale, sugar goes on sale. Now, you can buy your little 5-pound bag of sugar whenever you feel like it and spend 4 or 5 up to 10 times as much. Or you can get a 25-pound bag of sugar when it's on sale for canning. And you'll see the grocery stores do put it on sale. I pick these food grade buckets up at Tractor Supply. They have them at Cal Ranch. They have them at IFA. If you're in the Midwest, they have stuff like this at Menards. You just need to make sure that you're getting a food grade bucket, and make sure you get yourself a good lid, because you don't want mice or anything else getting into your food supply. But these are awesome. I think I paid $1.99 for the bucket and $1 for the lid, or maybe it was $2.99 for the bucket and $1 for the lid. But either way, you're under $5 for a really good sturdy container, and I keep these in my pantry. So next, I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt, and I just keep, this is a little trick, I keep different measuring spoons in the specific containers that I use them for. Like sugar has a 1/2 cup because that's how much I use in my bread recipe. Flour has a whole cup because I always use more than a cup at a time. And then salt has a teaspoon, and I'm just gonna spread that around, throw in another one. And now I'm going to get the yeast out and some lukewarm water. I'll be right back. I'm back. I've got my yeast container. I keep my yeast in my fridge, and I keep it in one of these lock and lock containers. My bread recipe that I make makes 4 loaves or 48 dinner rolls. So it takes 3 teaspoons of yeast, and I use this medicine cup because you can see, I can see 3 teaspoons easily. But right now I'm just going to put in a teaspoon of yeast, because that's what this recipe calls for. It's an instant yeast. My favorite yeast is Saf. I don't know why. It's because when they taught me how to make bread, that's the brand that they used, and I've tried other stuff and it doesn't work as good. So I do the SAF, rapid, instant, whatever. But it works great. It's fail proof. I'm also a huge fan of natural yeast breads. but today we're keeping it easy for the novice. So we've got the yeast. I'm gonna add 2 cups of lukewarm water, and I usually put in about 1.5 cups and then let it mix for a little bit and see the state of the dough. In the dead of the winter, when it's super dry, I tend to need a little bit more water. When it's super humid or hot during the summer, I may need less water. And if I'm going to be using wet ingredients in my dough, like part of this recipe, I'm gonna make some blueberry bagels, I will cut back a little bit because it'll be pulling some of the moisture from the fruit. So I'll be right back. Guys, I'm gonna add 2 cups of lukewarm water. And lukewarm means it's warm, but you should be able to touch it and not have to pull your finger out, basically. And like I said, I'm gonna start with that 1.5 cups. And we'll let the mixer run just a little bit and we'll see the consistency. Ran my mixer a bit. I'll let you guys take a peek in here. I ran my mixer a bit and it's still pretty crumbly and dry, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add that last 1/2 cup in there. And let's see what happens. Excuse my awesome mixer, it's gonna be loud. Okay folks, the dough is starting to pull together. You can see what it's doing. It's pulling from the sides. It's a stiffer dough. Bagels it's a stiffer dough. I'm gonna go ahead and start my pot of boiling water and let this knead. You're gonna wanna let it knead in a mixer for at least 7 minutes. It really helps to work up that really nice gluten strand. Bagels are stiff, but they still have airy, tiny bubbles in them, and you want to let that gluten build up by letting your mixer run a good long time and knead it. If you have to knead this by hand, God bless you, because it is going to be hard, but it's doable. I'm going to go ahead and let this mixer run, and then I will be back once I get my pot of water ready. Hey everyone, we're back. I've let this knead for 7 minutes, and you can see that the dough is one consistent piece of dough. You want to be really careful not to tug at your dough because you don't want it to be too pulled out because that breaks your strands of gluten. I'm just gonna pull it out, one big blob. See how it's together, it's a piece. What I'm gonna do is kind of just shape it into one shape so I can get an idea of how big it is, and then I'm gonna cut it in half because I'm going to throw half of it back in the mixer and incorporate some blueberries because that was my kid's special request. I'll just use this here quick. This is about half. So I'm going to put my hook back in. And you could hand knead in the blueberries, but I'm choosing to put it in with the mixer because I don't want purple hands when I shape my white bagels. And again, you can use whole wheat flour. I'll include the recipe. But today we're just sticking with the easy white bread flour. Okay, here we go. I've got 1/2 cup of blueberries in here, but I'm going to mix it up and see what it looks like first. Oh boy. Clearly I'm going to have to mix this by hand. Okay, I'll hand mix the blueberries. Everybody, I've got my dough here. This is half of a batch, so it makes 6 bagels. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of even depth of dough because you don't want one of your bagels to be a 10-ton tilly and the other one to be nothing. So I'm going to cut this in thirds. So these three, I'm gonna make full-size bagels, and they're gonna be 6 points a piece. But this piece over here, I'm gonna cut down into 6 bagels, and I'm gonna make some bagel thins. So I'm gonna set that aside for now. I'm just gonna ball this into a ball. I worked at a bakery, 15 years ago, and we would make so many rolls. You want to take your dough and compact it into a shape, and then we're going to take our thumbs and we're just going to stretch. Can you see I'm stretching? Okay, it will rise. You want to make sure your hole's big because it will fill in. So this is our first bagel. I'm putting it way over here on a greased cookie sheet. We're gonna roll it into that dough shape so it can have smooth edges. Okay, and then it's got the ugly side on the bottom, and I'm gonna take that and let it kind of rumble around in a loose hand. I'm not putting much pressure on it. This is just a guide hand. And now it's a lot more smooth. And then I'm going to take my thumbs, and again, I'm going to pull it. Now, there's people who do the rope method for bagels, but I'm not into that. So I made my hole nice and big, because remember what I said, it's going to rise. Again, tuck, 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 tuck. Then we're going to roll it around in our hands like this. I'm guiding it on my counter. And then I'm going to poke a hole in the middle. Okay. There we go, you guys. That's how easy this is. So right now I've got 3 plain full-size bagels over here. And next, I'm going to flatten this out just a little bit with my hands. You want to keep the dough semi-moist because you don't want it to get too dried out. Okay, now I'm going to cut each of these in half, and this is what I'll make my bagel thins with. So this is a 3-point bagel thin, just like the ones you can buy at the store. And tuck, 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 tuck. Same process, we're just not going to have as much bulk to our bagel, okay? I'm going to take and kind of work it around in my hand again. Again, I'm not exerting pressure with my hand. I'm only using it as a guide. Poke a hole. And I'm taking my thumbs. And I want this to have a little bit more flattening so it kind of spreads out. You know, when we buy bagel thins at the store, they've got a really small hole. So this is an experiment, guys. In the past, when I've made bagels, I wasn't doing Weight Watchers, so I didn't really care how many points it was. I just wanted to feed my family for cheap. So, again, poke a hole, pull, 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 pull. This is a great job to get your kids involved in. If you are a perfectionist about messes, pick which thing you want them to help with. Whether it's shaping bagels, measuring out dough, but it's okay to get them involved. In fact, it's imperative. I went away to college and got married, and I didn't know half the stuff my mom and grandmothers knew because my mom was a working woman, so she didn't have time to teach me. So I think it's important that we find ways to incorporate our kids into the process. So tuck, tuck, tuck. You've seen this process now a few times, and now we're gonna rumble kind of in our hands. We're allowing the ugly side to be down on the counter, and we have a nice smooth bottom. It's like a bum when I say bottom, not the bottom of the roll. Then you're just gonna poke your holes through the top, your thumbs through the top to make a hole, and you're gonna stretch it, creating that nice bagel shape. And again, these are 3-point bagels. They're not going to be like a mini bagel by any stretch of the imagination. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Rumble in your hand. Okay, we're on our last two, and then we're gonna hand knead the blueberry ones. I was gonna try to do it in my mixer, but the frozen blueberries were not having it. So I need to hand knead them in. Okay, tuck, 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 rumble, where you kind of let it roll in your hand. And again, it is just my hand gently kind of guiding the dough. Poke your thumbs through. And stretch it. So, here you go, folks. I have a tray, 3 regular size bagels, 6 thin bagels, and I will kind of flatten them a bit before I drop them in the water. So they're the spread out kind, so I could use them for a breakfast sandwich if I wanted. We're back at my work surface. I'm gonna pull these blueberries out. Unfortunately, they started to thaw while I was doing the white dough, so we're gonna get a true blueberry bagel. But you know what? It's fun. I still love it. So this has gotten a little moist, so I'm gonna have to work quickly. In an ideal world, I would have taken the plain bagels and just worked the blueberries into it. You can also use dried blueberries, but I chose the frozen ones, but my mixer was not having it. So you can see I'm getting it kind of a cool swirl through the dough. Okay, and this is gonna be a sloppier, wetter dough, and that's okay because it's still gonna rise. You're still gonna put it in the boiling pot of water. So I'm gonna get my cutting spatula. I wanna kind of push this dough out a little bit so that it has the same approximate depth. It's wanting to spring back. I'm gonna throw a few more blueberries in this really white area and kind of fold it in. Hey, nobody said this was gonna be clean. When this is all done, it's just a real easy wash up. You just get a hot soapy rag and you clean it up. So now I've got kind of a semi-rectangle like I did with my white. I'm gonna cut through. There we go. And we'll set that piece there. This one, we're cut down to 3. Okay, remember you guys, each of these is only 6 Weight Watchers Smartpoints. We're doing the tuck stage, okay? And now I'm gonna kind of rumble it in my hand like I taught you, the first one, and we're gonna poke. There we go. This is gonna be, it'll still rise, it'll still do all that we did. The white dough is obviously way more smoother because it doesn't have the blueberries in it. But there we go. So there's a blueberry. I'm going to throw that on just a spritz tray. And look, we've got white dough and blueberries. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Don't forget this step because this kind of pushes out any big chunky air bubbles. Bagels don't have big air bubbles like that. They shouldn't. They're made correctly. And then kind of the rumble, just kind of rotating it around on the counter. Then I'm going to take my thumbs, push it through, create a hole, and then pull. And this dough, I'm going to let it rest for a few minutes because it's really springing back because I let it rise a little bit in the mixer while I was working on the whites. But I'm going to finish these out and then I'll show you how to do the boiling step. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're gonna go ahead and unveil some of these bagels so that we can get them started. I've got my pot on a nice kind of rolling boil, but you don't want it too crazy. So I'm gonna turn it right where it is, and if it gets too crazy, I'll turn it down after we put the dough in. I'm gonna start with some of my bagel thins. I'm just gonna take it in my hands and pull it flat, just like the kind we buy at the store. My fingers are still blue. And this needs 15 seconds. So I'm going to drop it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to flip it. Do the same thing. And while I'm doing that one, I'm going to go ahead and get the next one kind of flattened out to make a bagel thin. Drop it. And now that this one's had its 15 on each side, I'm going to pull it out, and I've got it over here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera shot or not. Yep, you can. I've got it over here on a cooling rack, and I had these covered up with a damp towel so that they could rise without getting crusted out. There we go. Now we're just going to roll. It takes about the 15 seconds to kind of flatten one out and drop it in. Flip it. Okay. We'll get this one out of there. We'll flip the other one. Clearly, this is not a job to have small children around with, but this is the part that gives bagels their yummy, shiny crust. You don't want to skip this part. It's important. In this pot of water, I've got a teaspoon of baking soda and a little teaspoon of sugar. It does something to them. I'm not exactly sure the science behind it. But we're almost done with my thins. And we'll put them over here. All right, here's my big bagels. Drop them. I'll just do one at a time so I can keep an eye on it. It floats up to the top. Bubbling around it. I'm going to go ahead and flip it so the underside gets it. And while that one's slipping, I'm going to go ahead and roll in another one. And we'll pull it out. There we go, you guys. These are beautiful. We'll go ahead and put in this one. Flip this one. We're fighting for space. Okay. Take that second full-size one out. Put it on the baking rack. Flip this one. And we've got our pretty blueberry ones here. All right, let's pull this one out. Okay, here's my pretty blueberries. Just let it roll in. I did the plain ones first, just in case the blueberry ones cast off any color. My oven is just about to temp, so I'm gonna pop these in and get them started. They cook about 15 minutes. I put the thin ones on a separate pan so I could keep an eye on them and check them at 10 to see if they need to come out at 10. So we'll be back. You get to see the finished product. Hey everybody, I just got these beautiful, beautiful bagels out of the oven, and look at how big and beautiful they are for 6 points. I mean, you can get a bagel like this at the store for anywhere from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 points. And you don't know what's in it. You saw mine. It had 3 ingredients and water. You can make them with whole wheat. You can put sun-dried tomatoes in them. You can put basil. And check out these thin bagels. Is this not awesome? I can take a knife, a good bread knife, slice this up. I got these 6 bagels for about 35 cents. 35 cents, you guys. I made bagels for about 6 cents a piece. When we go to the store and we pay $3.99 for a half dozen. This is how I can feed my family for $50 a week on groceries. I am excited to see what you guys come up with. Listen to this. So excited. We're gonna cut some of these open and make pizza bagels tonight for dinner. And we'll have the blueberry ones for breakfast. So you'll have to wait for the comments to hear our taste test. But I can't wait for you guys to tell me what you try. I'm excited to see what kind of flavors my subscribers can come up with. So if you like this video and you want me to do more recipe videos and baking videos and frugal and cheap, please like and subscribe and share on Facebook and with friends and family so that we can help get the word out. Have a great day.